is your Cancer new moon forecast for July 14th, 2026. And on the 14th of July, we have the sun and moon, the new moon, a supermoon in Cancer, conjunct retrograde Mercury, the thinker and the communicator. And very much so, of all the astrological signs, the moon in Cancer in general, and the moon, of course, in its own sign, is the most emotional, very feeling. And of course, Cancer, connected with the fourth house, is with home and family. It is about our history, about the past. It is about strong emotions and protectiveness towards those that we love and that we care about. Cancer also can represent our physical home, our abode, not just our family or our history. So right now with this moon in Cancer, the new moon in Cancer, with retrograde Mercury, and of course, yes, Mercury deals with what and how we communicate, and it deals with the past. So, with this strong connection with Cancer and emotions, with the past, right now our feelings are going to be very heightened. And we're going to have to be careful too of not taking everything personally. It's a very sensitive time. There could be some issues within our home and family, and a lot now, not just because of the sign of Cancer, but because of Mercury retrograde. A lot is going to be brought up from the past and our sensitivity. So we may be a little bit snappish right now, and we may feel very emotional. There may be, and of course, depending on your personal birth chart, there may be something going on around us that's really requiring that sense of protecting ourselves, our feelings, our loved ones, and we have to not get too caught up in the past with our emotions. And double that because we have a bit of a wide square with Saturn at 14 degrees of Aries, kind of a wide square off with Mercury and Saturn. And Saturn is a bit of a debilitator, a bit of a blocker, but it always teaches us about patience. And so right now we may feel with Mercury retrograde and that wide square to Saturn, we may feel our thinking, maybe the clarity in what we have to say or convey to those around us. We may feel that we're kind of stuck in the mud, or maybe people don't quite get what we're saying, which could be a bit of a drawback. And yes, because of this square between very conservative, a bit of a defense mechanism, you could say, here with Saturn and Aries squaring Mercury, well, this could create some disagreements and some conflict, strictly because we're feeling a little bit like we want to rush and we want to say what we want to say. We're feeling a little bit impatient with Mercury retrograde, with the new moon in Cancer squaring Saturn. And so in our rush to convey our feelings and what our sensitivities are and so on, we may find ourselves in a bit of some opposition with those closest to us. So the cure right now is to take a hint from this Cancer new moon, and we want to be a little bit more sensitive or considerate of other people's feelings, and including our own. We don't want to just rushshod into uh, any disagreements because we feel that we're not going to be heard. And that's really important now because of this square off between Saturn and Aries and Mercury. We want to take the high road here and apply a little bit of some consideration, some compassion. These are really positive traits with Cancer. And if we do that, we're going to find that are we notice our communications are a little smoother with each other. So that's a very strong importance here with the full moon, excuse me, the new moon. We're going to get that right here. The new moon in Cancer. And of course, now we have Mars, the action planet, just past Uranus. And Mars is action, and Uranus is the unexpected, the genius. And this is really good for intellectual connections because we've got the trine to the powerhouse, also retrograde uh, in Aquarius. And keep in mind, Uranus in Gemini, which is good in this case, is the depositor of Pluto in Aquarius. So that's really good. We're really going to be very forthcoming about intellectual pursuits right now. And as always, because it is air, and we're talking Pluto and Aquarius, it's all about the future. AI, computers, the internet, genius, inventions, and so on. And now, so this will be a strong topic. We're going to be really wanting to connect with each other also because of this kind of airy connection with Pluto and Mars and Uranus. It's really good for group activity. So there could be some positive connections with groups, the connections with our humanity. Yes, and because of the new moon in Cancer, this is really good for charity, giving, but because we're talking Mars, Mars is a Gemini, Mars and Gemini really love to communicate. And Mars is with the third house, so it's all about travel plans. Kind of somewhat like the full moon in Capricorn. We're feeling a little bit restless. We want to travel, and especially now during the summertime. And the depositor of Mars and Uranus being retrograde Mercury, we do want to be very proactive and taking precautions regarding travel and so on. And as always, because Mars is in a communicative sign of Gemini with Uranus, there could be some unexpected news regarding documents or information. And it is going to be kind of shocking because Mars is just past Uranus. We really may be a little bit surprised about what we hear right now with this Mars-Uranus connection. Uh, so it's also a great time if you're wanting to write, you're wanting to express yourself. This is a good time. Also, education and learning pursuits are going to be very, very prominent now, especially as we have Uranus, as aforementioned, as the depositor and making a trine, exact trine to retrograde Pluto. Also, what else? What else is Gemini, it's about our communications, and Pluto is in Uranus, with Uranus and Aquarius, and it is also retrograde. So, what is this about? Pluto is with the powers that be. That's on a worldwide scale, but it is also personally. This is a really good time that you want to put forth your best foot forward. Ask for that raise. Really think about mm, creating or getting into those negotiations with others about maybe starting that business, or it's all about communications. And that's so important. And with this trine with Mars, yes, a wide trine, and an exact trine with Pluto, it's a good time to really kind of go after your goals. And as I mentioned, it's a really good time that we really want to connect with each other. We want to talk about our plans. We want to talk about our ambitions, because this is going to be very much in the focus right now with Mars here with Uranus. We're going to be very, very much about our our intellectual pursuits, I guess you could say. Really, this is a good time if you've thought about going back to school or your ambitions along educational lines. We're really going to feel like there's such a strong flurry with Mars, with Uranus, with communications right now. And what else is Gemini and Aquarius? They're air signs, and right now, during the height of summer, we're going to have to be a little bit cautious of some strong winds, and with the connection with water and the new moon, there could be some very hefty storms connected with wind and water and rain. So, this is another precaution that we're going to have to look out for with this new moon in Cancer, retrograde Mercury. Oh, that could really provide a conflict here with Mars and Uranus trine Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Nonetheless, it's a really good time. Even in general, if you really want to get off your chest some things that you want to say, this is just the time to say it, because it's a time that we're really going to kind of have a meeting of the minds in the middle, so to speak, here, which is really good. And Mars, of course, makes a sweet kind of a wide sextile to Saturn. So that kind of eases things with this square off between Mercury, the communicator, and Saturn. So Mars is there. So it's kind of like we may feel a little bit stuck in the mud with people not kind of getting what we have to say, or feeling like communications are down right now. And in general, because of this retrograde Mercury, there may be also issues, as much as our interests now are very intellectual and very much about the future. It also shows that there could be some problems with uh, just communications in general going down or having delays. So that also kind of ties in with this theme with Gemini. You want to very much be on top of your travel plans and whatnot. And make sure, if you are in any talks, that you want to maybe write down first what you have to say and be very clear in your thinking and your speech. Absolutely. And that'll kind of, with this Mars trine Saturn, that'll kind of overcome the little bit here with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, which is very positive. I love that connection with Mars trine Saturn, because that kind of gives us a little bit of patience right now with this retrograde Mercury with the new moon. So that is the message here, and that is always with Saturn, and with Saturn with retrograde Mercury, is be patient, because talks are moving forward. overall, we really want to say what's on our mind. So that's a positive. But we have to be slow, careful, and patient. And that will kind of get us through this retrograde Mercury and squaring Saturn. Now, we do have Jupiter. Oh, yes. Now, in the early degrees of Leo. That's real sweet. However, that is an opposition here with retrograde Pluto. So, although talks are going really well right now, we have to make sure that we don't want to feel like we have such grand ideas and we're feeling rather restless right now with all what we have to say, all the communications, that word again. And we are really wanting to really put our ideas on paper. We are all about expression right now. And with Jupiter and Leo, that really gives us a creative bend, whether it's a business, whether it's a website, whether you're interacting with people and you're making plans for the future. But with this opposition with Pluto retrograde, we're feeling so exuberant now. And with that kind of a very, very wide sextile here to Jupiter, we're feeling so exuberant that we may not really kind of hear other people's input. And with the opposition with Pluto, well, overall, it's really good with the powers that be, with Mars, Uranus trine Pluto, but we still have Pluto retrograde, so that kind of makes the powers that be, and yes, that's people above us, managers, supervisors, whoever along those lines. It could kind of create a little bit of a power play here. So while we want to talk it out and we're feeling rather energetic and exuberant about our plans, our objectives, whatever that is, uh, Jupiter kind of is wanting to just kind of, to some degree, get their way. And we don't want to step on other people's toes. We want to cooperate. And that's the good thing here about oppositions. It's about cooperation when there's that tug of kind of doing what we want to do, saying what we want to say. So we want to slow down here too because, Pluto is retrograde, so it is not at its best. Thank goodness for the trines. Uh, so that's kind of good here. But the lesson here is to, yes, have foresight for the future, your creativity. Your ideas are probably brilliant, highly creative, but because of this opposition here to powerhouse retrograde Pluto, make sure in all the sense of variety and all means of talking and putting ideas out there, creativity, what have you, that you want to cooperate. Because the one thing, as aforementioned, about oppositions is if we kind of see other people's point of views and we don't step on their toes and we listen, then the opposition becomes very cooperative. So that's a good thing right now. So it's kind of like taking well, I guess you could say to some degree, bad with the good in this chart. And overall, it's a very positive chart here. Yes, you have some irritations with this Jupiter opposing powerhouse Pluto. And yes, you've got this heightened emotional sensitivities with retrograde Mercury. But, you got the trines here with Pluto, with Uranus and Mars. We've got this exuberant, brilliant Jupiter in Leo. And what else is Leo? Kind of like Cancer, it's all about the fifth house and children. So I'm also apt to believe that there may be some issues regarding children or children's interests uh, somehow to some degree. So look for that. And it's not just something that could be, in the news, but it's also personally, maybe we're going to have to be protective of children somehow around us in a more heightened way for whatever it's worth. Um, but it's also very good now. Now, this is going to be very lighthearted, but Jupiter, because it is connected, I'm sorry, not with the fifth house here, but it's also connected with the fifth house and fifth house uh, interests. So it's not just connected with the fifth house, it's connected with gambling, it's connected with speculation, and it's connected with what? What is Jupiter in Leo? It's connected with fun. And so, as strange as it may sound, there's going to be some interest now about money. There could be a lot discussed about investments. It's about really kind of find a way now of really amusing ourselves, finding ways of what? Relaxation, taking it easy. This is perfect as Jupiter goes into the fifth house sign of Leo because, we're in the middle of summer. It's about recreation. Just don't speculate too much because Jupiter is feeling so exuberant now in the sign of Leo that, and also because of this opposition to Pluto, we want to keep an eye on our wallet and our spending and our money right now because in a pinch, we may need money, but Jupiter is so eager to spend on what? Recreation, maybe getting more than a few of those lotto tickets, having fun, vacations, um, and to some degree also it's connected with intimacy and dating, another topic of discussion here right now with Jupiter in Leo. So there could be something that comes about connected with, yes, with dating and however that is with the fifth house and Leo Jupiter right now. And we've got Venus, the planet of love and affection in the sign of Virgo. Yes, and it's at 5 degrees and up it is making a bit of a quincunx, which is kind of a minor but annoying aspect. So, yes, right now with Venus and Virgo, and it is with the South Node, so that's a very kind of touchy point, and naturally opposing a very wide opposition to the North Node in Pisces. So this is kind of creating more sensitivities, and when you got Virgo Venus here, this is kind of a little bit frosty because Venus in Virgo is about service, and that's how Venus in Virgo loves or looks at loves. It's about their service. That's Venus in Virgo's sense of compassion. It's about being a little bit critical to them, kind of a little bit nitty picky. And it's sitting on that South Node also in Virgo. And with the quincunx to retrograde Pluto, well, in love and affection, we may feel like maybe our loved ones are being a little bit critical, and that could create maybe not some all-out war here, but it could create some irritation, some annoyances. We may feel like our loved ones are kind of acting a little small-minded or nitty-picky, and that, however, is how we or others that we give and take affection to are showing their love during this Cancer new moon. And it may not be in such a negative connotation, but remember, we or our loved ones may feel like, they're kind of looking out for us. So they feel like they may have to kind of uh, pick apart or criticize whatever we're doing or whatever we have to say because they're feeling like, I got to correct you. This is the way I'm showing my love to you this month. So if you look at it like that, maybe it'll kind of quelch some of those spats that may occur because of this kind of frosty placement with Venus in Virgo and with the South Node. So there could be some issues that come up from the past because, the nodes are very sensitive points in the sky, and with Venus sitting right on it in Virgo, well, this kind of like, as I was saying earlier with the new moon in Cancer, it's kind of the time that we want to be more sensitive, and here this applies too in all of loves and relationship. And don't get caught up with the past because we've got that kind of sort of a double whammy here with the new moon in Cancer, with Mercury retrograde and Venus on the South Node in Virgo. So it's all about constructive criticism. It's all about the past, maybe some good memories, kind of make light of the past. You don't want to kind of find disagreement or discord because of the past. You want to kind of look at this connection with the past, with Virgo and the South Node and the retrograde Mercury in Cancer with the new moon. You want to kind of, look at the past in a positive light, not a source for negative arguments or discord, which could be possible here with these connections regarding the past, history, and so on. And speaking of which, because of this Cancer connection and Virgo Venus with the South Node, there could be some interesting historic finds or information that is dug up, found from the past that will be of value. Also, our money is of value, but as I said, with this new moon in Cancer, with retrograde Mercury, and Jupiter opposing Pluto, it's a great time for money, but you want to hold on to your money. Be careful of your spending. So this is a very productive, enlightening Cancer new moon. Yes, we're going to have to be sensitive. Yes, there's a lot that's going to come up from the past, but it's all about our protection, and that right there is a very enlightening trait indeed. If you'd like to get in touch with me, my contact information is down below. I give one-on-one readings and written reports. Please subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification. Until next time, many, many blessings.